Electrocast.
Yes, it is. It is interesting to say that. My definition. Okay. So just to hear how you sound like. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Welcome to the sun.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining Abracadabra-Create What You Speak. I'm iLan Azoulai, your host, spiritual guide, and a sound therapist. And it's really unique today. But before I start, how do you want me to introduce you?
What feels good?
What feels good?
Would you like to introduce me? Would you like me to introduce myself?
We'll do that. So, hello, welcome to Abracadabra-Create What You Speak. This is a second take. We've talked about how we're introducing one another. And thank you for joining. I'm iLan Azoulai, a spiritual mentor, a sound therapist, and your host. And I have a wonderful human being, really a lovely and a sweet human being that I met at a workshop. And this is Elijah Love. And he is exactly what he sounds like and what he looks like, Love. So thanks for being here. And thanks for joining in my Zula. This is my Zula, my hangout place, where we're exploring things and talking about different ideas. And so maybe you can introduce yourself to everyone.
Well, thank you for having me here,
Sure.
Alan. It's a very comfortable space you've curated here for us. Hello, everyone. As Alan said, my name is Elijah Love. It's not the name I was born with, but it was dropped on my head by angels. So these days I have a lot of fun introducing myself that way.
Cool.
I've been voyaging deeply into the nature and function of consciousness for not quite a decade yet. However, in the 7 to 8 years that I've been very intentional on my path, I've discovered a lot. I've found deep joy in so much of what is possible, what is happening on this planet. And these days, my focus and intention really lies at the intersection of organization, sustainability, integration, and transformation. So these are really the pillars that are at the core of what I do and how I work in the world.
So, yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting what you're saying, so I have questions about it.
Well, if the questions are bubbling up, I'm happy for you to jump into them.
All right.
Does that feel like enough of an introduction?
Yeah. That's good. That's good. for you. As long as for you is good. So, but what is your measure to know when you start a certain stage or you're transitioning to a different stage? What is how is it? Is it reflected through a thought, through an action, through what?
That's an interesting question. Immediately, I would say the most relevant version of moving from one stage to another is the 7-year cycle that our body goes through in complete cellular regeneration.
That's right.
So I'm right at the beginning of my Saturn returns. So that's 4 cycles of 7 on the planet so far. And at the same time, I'm also in a 7-year process, taking a deep inquiry into each of the chakras 1 year at a time. So I'm in the 3rd year of that intentional cycle of 7. So that's one way. I could say a little bit more about how that emerged particularly, but I think at some point the cycle, well, let's see, maybe it's not quite time to jump all the way into
That's good. That's good. Whatever it feels. Listen. You know what? There is never a good or a bad point to start a story, to enter a story. I mean, look at our connection, right? This is the reason it happened now is because it did not happen then. Right?
Yeah.
You know, and how many times we've tried to create this conversation, this gathering together, you know, quite some time.
4 or 5 now.
Right. And it happened.
5th time's the charm, as they say.
Well, I don't know. I heard 3, but I stopped counting after 7. You know? But it happened today, and today is the evening of Purim, of the Jewish holiday of Purim. We're talking about this a little bit. I won't going through the entire story, but just to say that this is really a celebration of and commemoration of the salvation of the Jewish people. And like in the flip of a day, where somebody wanted to annihilate the Jews, and Queen Esther, she was associated with Mordechai. Queen Esther, she married the king, and she convinced the king to see her point and to see that his second in command is the one who is trying to annihilate the Jews, and everything flipped, and he got hung, and the Jews got the rights back. Now it's interesting because before we started the program, you said, remember what you said? So everything started with the breath, and you're absolutely right. The 5th letter in the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Hey. The letter Hey is the feminine letter. Anything in the language that has a Hey that ends with a Ha or that is usually considered feminine, unless there are very specific, very few exclusions. But it's a feminine letter. Also, it's the letter of life. Why? Because we come with a, and we go with a breath. And today is Purim. And as I shared with you, I didn't feel that Esther as a woman received all the credit that she would receive, partially because of the times, the patriarchal times, and just the way the things were. But she actually did the action of marrying the king and working the ground, working the land, so to speak. You know, and I shared with you also about the Hamantashen, right? The triangle that we're told that this was Haman's ears, but it's actually it's representing of the feminine, because it is to commemorate her, to remember her. You know? Now there are taboos over time, so I don't know what happened over the generations, but this to me looks the most appropriate, rather than to commemorate somebody who wanted to annihilate the Jews by eating his ears, or a symbol of his ears. Otherwise, I would eat a cookie in the shape of the mustache of Hitler. And the Holocaust Eve Day, the memoriam, right? But it's interesting because you're talking about these shifts and changes, and this is much of the feminine is coming through, and much of these shifts that are part of where you share with me. It's like,
yeah, I think what you're speaking to feels really, really true, and there's definitely a lot of shift happening, and a lot that I've been experiencing. A really big piece of that, as I've been personally been grappling with this relationship with how our economic system is designed, and it's been a big part of the kind of like, I'd say, the deep shamanic threads that I've been feeling into that have this extractive quality, this kind of pulling from the earth, pulling from the ground, pulling from, and I think it's beautiful, this intention that you've just shared of kind of reorienting the story to ensure that Esther receives credit where credit's
Yeah,
due. It
it's
all, I love this piece that the ha is the beginning, is feminine um, uh, character,
yeah,
the start of the everyday, a
yeah,
breath,
exactly.
and also the start of every life, a woman, the
Yeah,
birth
yeah.
that begins every life new, and then you breathe in. So
Soul in Hebrew is neshama.
the shama,
Neshama.
yeah.
It's feminine
Mm,
in its nature. I mean, the masculine couldn't be created if there wasn't feminine,
mm, mm,
right?
mm. Yes, yes,
So,
yes, yes. So as you were speaking to the beginning, the way the cosmology that I work with personally moves from the black, the darkness, the void at the bottom of all things, the black hole at the center of the universe that everything spins around, that
yeah,
everything is drawn to and held by.
yeah,
And from there, we move through all the colors,
that's right.
through red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and then above violet, pink, and then white. And so we have this white and black duality that wraps around the fullness of the color spectrum.
That's right.
And so as you speak to soul having this feminine quality, that is very deeply how it occurs through my experience. This
Huh.
deep holding, darkness that holds all things. So, some ways,
Darkness that holds all things.
yeah,
Now, that's an interesting concept because also light holds all things. It's like saying I could take certain action and or certain idea or certain gift that I have or that you have and use it either for negative or positive. So where do I want all things to be held at?
well, I take your point, that all things are of light, and so it holds all things, and yet this is the duality, this is the yin and yang, the white within the dark within
I
the
got you,
light.
got you, got you.
And so at least the way I perceive it and experience it, that from a deep philosophical standing, that the void is what the light is moving through, that
Yes.
the light is what, and so we can only see a
Interesting.
very small amount of the light.
So to that point, this world is considered a hidden light
Hmm.
because to to experience the light as light is as God is, we cannot do that in our dimension, in our reality, in the same capacity that light is,
Hmm.
right? So the light has to go, and this is a Kabbalistic um way of looking at and telling how things are, is that um, the light had to contract itself into different versions to be able to express itself here.
Hmm.
So for the light to be the material, it's called a hidden light, not a hidden light, a like a muffled light. Think
Hmm.
about when in the bathroom you have those glasses that you don't see through. It's kind of that. It's like a snowy glass. It's like a muffle. It really has to put filters and filters.
Hmm.
Like I have those lights, and if I want to for it not to be bright, I put different filters on it. So this is our existence. Our existence is all these through the filters that came to be expressed here in this reality,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yes, yes, exactly.
And so you're right. So when you're talking about light and dark, light has to move through the dark. The dark was created because many people say, "Oh, it's dark because there is no light." No, the dark was created as a space for the light to be in this dimension.
Hmm.
Is this in this? So it's like a balloon, and then putting water inside. So we had to create this balloon to put the water inside so it can float. Yeah.
As you're speaking through this, what I'm reflecting on is this sense, as I've dived more and more deeply into this duality between the light and the darkness, that perhaps, I'm curious whether this resonates for you, but perhaps it is that the universe itself is eternal, right? We think of a beginning,
When you say the
the universe,
what we see, the stars and the galaxies, is that what you're talking about?
everything.
That includes the elevated contraction of the light before the light contracted, or are you talking about this contraction level?
Well, as you're speaking to the darkness had to be created, it's 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 clear that creation is an element of our reality.
Yeah.
We can see it, whether it's an artist painting, creating artwork, or a mother gestating, creating a child, or there's this quality within our experience that is creation, and yet the 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 further I've dived into some of these very deep spaces, it seems as if every beginning is an ending and every ending a beginning.
Yeah.
And if that's accurate, that and that carries through everything. This is one of the principles that I work with often, is if something can be seen in a smaller scale, that same form shows up. This is as above, so below, as within, so without. And so it brings me to this question of whether the universe itself was ever actually created. And it seems like an obvious, like, of course it was. We see creation, and yet whether it was like where that initial impulse, where that initial force or power or energy seems as if it's almost as if it always is, always will, and always has been, and within the way we perceive reality, it's as if it might end, that there's this apocalypse that might happen, and in scale, yes, we will die, we will end. There is a time in which all things come to a close, and yet, if that is simply another beginning, then this idea of beginnings and endings becomes a falsehood, like a good story.
I hear you. That's a great point. So here's what I see. The way that you're describing it from that standpoint is when you take into consideration this is the main thing. But really what is happening is that our entire life is one scene from an entire movie. I mean, we are here again.
Yeah.
So we're in a different scene again.
Yeah.
It's the same movie of our soul journey, but we are here again because each one has their own reason for why we're here again. That's why some people you recognize and you say, you feel the soul connection. And some people you feel you actually cannot be near. Like, I mean, there are contracts. So that shows me that this is really a scene of a film. And so I cannot use this as the foundation for everything, because it's another link in the entire chain. So for example, let's say I've seen myself many times in different lifetimes, different characters. Doesn't matter. I've traveled, I've seen that. The question is, okay, great, I've been there, but what did I learn or not? All right, I'm here again, and most likely many times with the same people, reliving certain things that can be conducive to my growth, or am I going to make the same choices again? I had a talk Friday. I was talking about that our soul, the way that I see this, is that our soul is cumulative, our memory is not. So think about a computer.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the hard drive, the files in the hard drives, in the hard drive, and think about the RAM, the random access memory, the memory chips that allow all the computer's application to run within that container that I created, the RAM. The RAM, think about it as a universe. I created that container to allow Adobe Photoshop to run in it. And so I can see the images, ta, 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 ta. The minute, sometimes what happens, we do, I get stuck, I get freeze, I get the beach ball. What do I have to do? I have to reset. What happened to the RAM? It's gone because I reset the computer. What remained? The hard drive files, the files themselves, the soul, because it's there. Now, when does it become cumulative? When I hit Command Save. I did a change on the document, I hit Command Save. Now the computer can crash. The changes are still in the soul because they've been saved. So that's our experience.
So I'm curious. I love the metaphor, and I'm curious what, if anything, from your experience, is that save point in our reality.
That's our journey. That's what we need to figure out. Now, you can save also, listen, you can save also an error code. You can save also the wrong error code, but what will happen? You launch the computer, it'll freeze again at the same point. So for the left side of my brain, I've been an Apple consultant for almost 30 years, right? So you write code. And when the computer boots, it goes through a sequence of boot up process, a process of booting. If there is an error in certain code, it'll freeze in a certain point, and it'll always freeze at the same point. And I had it a few times until you test it and you remove. You see, until it continues, right? So let's say with Photoshop, or you're doing something, and every time you're going to hit the save after you change the font, crashed. Why? Because the font is not there, so it doesn't know what to save. I'm just giving an example. So the application crashed. So now you're rebooting. So the question is, are you going to try the font again? Okay, you're going to try the font again. You're going to crash. You ask, how do we know in our conscious life? Because what is happening? Our memory, when we come here, is wiped clean.
Well, using the analogy that we're speaking of, what seems really obvious is that these kinds of error codes are like the traumatic experiences that we've dealt with, right? Where something that you've experienced,
something that shifted you,
that encoded an error code, a freeze response, right? If someone's been exposed to violence at a young age, if they're exposed to a situation that feels similar, they'll go into the same way they responded to it at the time, and often that's a freeze.
That's true.
And so that same pattern, however, and so I guess my curiosity, given this line of thinking, is, and especially since a lot of the work that I've been doing has given me a clear understanding of, that when I speak to integration, this is a big part of what I'm speaking to, where we're having new experiences, where we have an opportunity to rewrite this old code in our experience. Often it's going through a very similar experience in a way that allows you to have the same experience that you had before, but in a safer environment,
or in different environment, because we're learning from that, right?
So, at least from what I understand, the way that our nervous system is able to effectively rewrite these traumatic codes is when we get to experience that same thing again in a way that is safe, in an environment that is safe, healthy, and at the time when the first instance of that traumatic experience occurred, we didn't receive what we needed at that time. And generally this tends to break down to unconditional love. At a time when we receive something other than unconditional love. And it can be as simple as you fell down and, hit your teeth on the ground and broke a tooth, right? And that creates this shock in the system where, oh no, I'm injured, I've hurt myself. But then it's often how you were responded to in that situation, when after that happened, were you held? Were you given
Mm-hmm.
the love that you
Mm-hmm.
needed to feel safe, even though you hurt yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of what we're doing in our, as in as in therapy, in working with plant medicines, in all sorts, there's all sorts of tools that we're using
Mm-hmm.
on the planet at the moment to work on this. Is we're allowing ourselves to go back into these
That's right.
spaces where and feel the discomfort that
That's
we've been
right. That's right. You're
experiencing.
absolutely right.
And by
Yeah.
being in somewhere safe while we're experiencing that discomfort, it actually allows our nervous system to relax in a way that it hasn't before. And so that's a mechanism. And yet what I'm still curious about is this idea of a like reset, a new save state.
Mm-hmm.
This idea of a complete refresh back to unconditional love, whether that's possible. And
Well, that's why we come here again.
well, I suppose so. I suppose so. It certainly seems like what there is to be doing here.
Yeah.
Bring it back to unconditional love as much as possible. This is why I carry the name love as I do. It's a reminder for myself that love is who we are, love is what we're from, and that as a society, it's family name love. The family that I refer to in this space is humanity,
Yeah.
the whole family.
But here's the thing. When was the first time that you felt love to people?
Felt love to people or
Mm-hmm.
from people?
Two people.
It's a beautiful question. Hmm.
You know.
Well, what immediately arises as you ask that question is how deeply I love my immediate family members, my sister, my mother, my father. And I can think of moments with each of them of feeling deeply loving towards them. However, I don't know that I can come up with exactly the answer to the question you're asking of the first time that I
Yeah.
felt that.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason maybe it's something that you can train yourself to go through. But the reason I ask this question is because, yes, I'm interested, but I understand that this is not a of the fly kind of thing, but it is to show that you activated your cumulative soul, because you already came to that conclusion about loving others, and you are going through the experiences, and you're having all these filters and the life experiences. Maybe something tinted you, maybe as a child, and it's like this confusion, but inside you already knew about love. Now it's just different versions of maybe peeling layers, learning different ways of love. The Torah is referred to as love. The Torah is water, and water is love, and there are 70 faces to the Torah. There are 70 ways you can come to the Torah. This means that there are 70 faces to love. There is no any one issue that has more than 70 opinions on it. In the entire existence, everything has no more than 70 opinions. But anyway, so yeah.
Well,
So,
that brings me to something that I've been diving deeply
but just to find
into
this, just to this
recently.
point, I'm sorry, but it is to show that you already had that. You already had that sense of love. Something had to happen to trigger you into that place. Or maybe it's just
I don't know. I don't know that that's the case. I see. This is my sense of it is that we can only ever. It's like we are love. Well, we are like
yeah, but we don't
universe-
remember it all the time.
Right.
Look at what's happening in the world.
Right. It's the remembering that's really key.
The memory, the RAM, that we have to find the right path to get to the hard drive, to get to the Pinocchio over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I cut you. We're starting to share.
Well, you were speaking to 70 faces, 70 ways to approach the Torah, and it reminded me of the I Ching, the 64 frequencies that make up of all of the universe. And they seem, it's a very, very similar number there, 70, 64. The 64 frequencies that compose the I Ching are understood as the the 64 harmonic gates in which energy travels through. And I've been spending a lot of time with this way of interpreting and understanding how our reality functions over the last few months. And you asked me to come up with a word to bring to the table for this conversation. And the one that occurred to as the word to bring was, or is, truth.
Mm.
And it's truth since currently the gate that we are transiting, the I Ching or the gene key gate, depending on which system you're using, is the gate of truth.
Fascinating.
The 6-day transit until tomorrow. And this is the transition from the shadow of doubt to the city of truth.
Fascinating.
And so this is what I'm experiencing very deeply in my own my personal experience at the moment. This is why this feels relevant to share. Is currently been dealing with parts of myself that doubt. I've been dealing with parts of myself that despite having faith, despite having cultivated faith, that I still doubt that everything is working out. And so, as I see it at the moment, the work that there is to be doing during this transit is to recognize, to remember those parts of myself that are currently doubting and allow them into the light. And the challenge of it is, it's like allowing it up in and of itself is the discomfort, right? Actually having to sit with the doubt itself,
right? To sit with it, just to how does it feel in the body? How does it manifestate, or how does it you felt a little bit earlier, you drank a little bit tea I gave you, and you start feeling things in your body, things were moving. So it's like,
well, I know exactly that trust feels like deep relaxation. When I trust the universe, when I trust myself, when I trust those around me,
I feel you, man. I have you.
There's this sense of, I can relax. I can relax. I can relax. I can relax. When I doubt, there's this tightness, this contraction, this tension that creeps in. And so that's what I've been transmuting through myself over this last few days, is really allowing myself to recognize where there's doubt and relax and remind my body that it can relax, that it's safe, that it's okay. And yet there's still this distortion that I experience within my own field, that I don't always have faith, right? Ye of little faith. Despite how much I've practiced and cultivated this attention towards faith in the universe, faith in God, faith in my fellow man, there's still parts of me that are deeply concerned that in a way that has been very difficult to sit with. And I know that this isn't just me, right? And I'm not the only one who feels these things, that this is part of where we are.
Yes, you're right.
On the planet.
You are right.
There's a lot
of
discomfort, and there's room for faith.
You're right. You're right. This is great. This is great. I mean, this is great. Room for faith. So we're creating a room to put faith in. Right? We're creating a space to put faith in.
One might call that a temple.
Hey, that's exactly where it is. There you go. So we're creating a temple within us that we put our faith in. But then we are compartmentalizing faith. Faith. We're compartmentalizing it instead of being like a sponge inside an ocean, and it's in it. It's in the ocean. It's
Mm.
not just part of the sponge that is being wet.
Hmm.
You know?
Mm.
This is yeah.
Hmm.
So truth. So so the truth is being expressed because you're describing the things that you're, without going into details, just the concept of what you're going through. So what I'm hearing from you is that truth, this is how truth is manifesting in your life, or this is how you want truth to be expressed in your life based on the situation that you're in.
Hmm. Well,
I'm trying to understand.
I think so. Personally, a big part of my practice is to be as truthful as possible, to be as honest as possible, to speak from what I know to be true, from what feels true, and to speak honestly. And it's something that I deeply appreciate in others as well, when I feel that the communication is resonant,
Mm,
where what is being said is a true expression of someone's true being. There's something
mm,
so that is so relaxing when I feel like we're having a real conversation, an honest conversation, a true conversation. And it's been a fascinating part of the experience of living in Los Angeles so far. There's this quality that I am delighted by, and also um, feel that the challenge of that. Los Angeles is a city that is known globally as, you know, the center for storytelling, for acting, and so there's this peculiar quality both of the best stories in the world, or at least the most widespread stories in the world, coming from this place.
mm.
And at the same time, I've been having this lived experience of this quality within of depthful truthfulness in many of the people that I'm meeting. There's this strong thread of people who are excellent at what they do in this city. There's world class talent and people who are you know, powerful, beautiful expressions of what it is to be a human being on the planet. And I'm meeting many of these people. And then at the same time, there's also this part of me that is aware that this city is also one of the places where the best actors are, the best, the highest, the most skilled, um, like presentation of story.
Mm.
And so there's this quality
Interesting.
of like, you know, what is really true and who is actually being real here, that I've been experiencing quite a lot, and it's drawing me to this edge of trying to be as honest and real and truthful as possible in this space, but also finding myself very much on edge, very much at, like, very watchful for, is does this person have my best interests in mind?
Well, you are in LA. I mean, LA is also known for being I mean, it's like what you see is not always what you get.
Hmm.
You know, it's just nature of things here in this place. It's also nature of things sometimes in people. Depends on the people. But not everybody is like that. I mean, you can't put a blanket statement,
No, absolutely not.
and because there are people different, just like the different people like this anywhere. But because this is, I see, because this is, you're talking about acting. What do they do in acting? The actors here, what do? They portray somebody who they're not, or maybe it is them. I find that acting is a very strong psychological work about
Well, true
myself.
acting, as far as I can
It's
tell, is when
like
someone is
inside.
calling from something true and expressing it.
Exactly. So it's a part of them, but today, I don't know. Sometimes it seems a little fake.
Hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. So this is how you're, yeah. So what do you get when you achieve truth, or when you achieve, you experience what you want to experience? And
Hmm.
have you experienced that yet? Maybe it's different stages of experience.
Hmm.
Maybe it's a global one thing and that's it. Now to the next thing, or is it something that stays and carries throughout every experience?
Hmm. Felt like there were a few different threads in that question. I'm
Oh
not
man,
sure
I
exactly
forgot it
which one
already.
to
The minute I asked, I
answer.
forgot.
So, what comes through to speak to is, what does truth feel like? What is it? What do you
Yeah.
get
Yes.
from
Yes.
truth? And
Yes.
to me, truth feels like a breath of fresh air.
Mm.
When there's like, falsehood feels stagnant. It feels contracted. It feels tight. It um, feels muddy. Feels sticky. And truth, when you're when that stagnancy, that stuckness is present, truth cuts through that. It cuts through it like a fresh breeze, or an ocean wave. And it washes through that stagnancy. And there's this distinct quality to truth speaking, where having a conversation where people are being authentic and honest puts my soul at ease.
Hmm.
I feel like this is a safe place to be, because what's actually going on is what's being communicated. There's no, it's like it feels unsafe to be somewhere
Hmm.
where there's a lack of truth, where there's no
I hear you. I
honesty.
hear you. I hear you. Yeah. It's yeah. Yeah. I feel that. I hear you. It's like sometimes you go to places and you're sitting and you know, it's, you could feel it. You could feel it in the air. You could feel it in the room. You could feel it everywhere.
Hmm. And it's the exact quality that really makes for a powerful healer, or or a beautiful. The experience, for me at least, is when I go in to see someone, to do work with them, when I feel safe, when I feel like this person that I'm working with is honest. There's some quality of, like, that in and of itself feels like healing.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. So that person in a way makes you feel comfortable too.
Yeah.
They don't trigger you.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah.
nothing. They don't come with any agendas. So you basically can tell the agenda. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And if
you
they
can
do
tell
have
the
an
agenda.
agenda,
You
they'll be
can tell.
honest about it. You know what the agenda is.
And if they're not honest, well, I mean, if they have an agenda, maybe it fits that they're not honest.
Mm.
Because otherwise, what do you have an agenda? Unless it's, I don't know. Agenda sounds all the time has this negative connotation.
See, I don't have an issue with an agenda. In fact, I like
Well,
knowing
maybe that's
what's
my
on the agenda.
experience. Maybe it's my experience.
Perhaps.
My experience is that
Perhaps.
people had an agenda when,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and so truth is different with each one.
Well, I think, at least for me, when I know what someone's agenda is, it gives me the context of how to operate with them. Because if I feel aligned with that agenda, then I can put my energy into that thing. Great, you want to, you know, take care of your family and feed people who are hungry. Beautiful, that aligns. I feel so nourished by that. That's on your agenda. Okay, great. Yes, I want to support what you're doing,
Yeah.
right? Whereas when I don't know your agenda, when I don't know what you're here to do, when I don't know what's important to you,
Hmm.
or what you're going to put your time and energy
Hmm.
towards, that's where I believe an agenda um, can cause discomfort, when someone's coming in with something that they're intending that
Hmm.
may or may not align.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, you guys who are with us, you see us. We are going into different places, and it's really fun just to philosophize our time, and find different understandings and breakthroughs, sometimes realizations. This is why it's important that there is somebody you can talk with, that in any conversation, but in your level, in your comfort, or in your language. Actually, that's the right thing. It's the right one to say. In your language, everybody has a different language, just to speak and to express, because through the expression we discover things, we create. How many times, to me it happened many times. I speak with somebody and I have this creative idea. Oh wow, great. Oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do. Now, this wouldn't happen if we wouldn't have this conversation, because that particular moment in time that triggered some kind of something in me, or brought something down, wouldn't have happened if we wouldn't have this conversation. Pretty much like we were talking about, like I want, like you were talking about cutting through everything. I maybe I wanted to give I gave you the example of an LP record, right? An LP record where we are in the middle, the whole, we are the entire thing, actually. We're the entire circle, but our experience is here in the middle, and then all those lines are our life stories and our understandings and the experience and everything, and some are nice, some are not. This is all our stories, and sometimes we're getting a scratch, like a needle scratch all across from that middle space all the way up, cutting through everything, cutting through all the stories, all the masks, everything, like going to the source, you know. And I've experienced that a few times. It's breathtaking. It's fascinating. It's just like there's no even how way to put it in words that will give it its rightful glory, if you will.
Well, Leonard Cohen said, "There is a crack in everything.
That's where the light
That's
comes
where the
in.
light gets in."
I have that poster. It's like one of those posters. That's great. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, so talking the truth, my word is, unless there is another more to talk about the truth. I don't want to.
No, no, no.
Uh, it
Let's
comes
bring in some
together.
more
It comes
words.
together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Freedom.
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 Yes.
Freedom. Freedom. Now,
Yes.
now. Freedom can be, you can think about many things about freedom. It's the best questions to say is to ask. What's the first thing when I said the word freedom? What came to your mind? You know,
Hmm.
like also people, whoever is listening, what came to your mind when you say freedom? And of course, we're taking it to our own story. Depends on the level. Maybe for you, freedom is expressed through the truth,
Hmm.
so you feel relaxed. You know.
Yeah.
In my case, freedom is expressed through the lack of judge, through the just being, just allowing to be without judgment of how
Hmm.
you are.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
just being. And so it's truth, and that's truth also.
Yes. 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 I find when I am in a space where exactly as I am
Yeah,
is welcome, that is one of the most comfortable spaces. That opportunity to feel free to be just as I am.
no,
That that is, as far as I experience, that's true freedom. To be exactly as I am,
to be exactly as I am. That's freedom.
with no expectation to be any other way, not feeling like like someone's trying to change me, like I'm trying to force myself, to push myself to do something other than I am. True freedom is just that relaxing into the truth of this moment, just as I am, just as I'm
Amen.
not.
Amen. Yeah, yeah. Right
And
on,
I'm
man.
so grateful when I'm in spaces where I have that freedom.
Right on, man. Yeah, that's great. Listen, this is deep. I love this stuff.
Mm.
I love going into all these places and finding a way and mapping these experiences. It's
Mm.
like yeah, it's just, and then to feel it, and then when you
Mm.
feel it, right, understanding it and then feeling it. That's great. That's great. It's,
Yeah, for me, freedom is also this spaciousness, to be at full extension, to be as expanded as I am. Um, I've had a few of these moments where I'm in medicine ceremonies,
Uh-huh.
and there's this part of me that feels this need to
Huh.
stretch out.
Yeah.
And I've had a few of these moments where when I stretch out, it's like it's running into things. It's like that's it. That's all the space that I've got. And there's this interesting psychological experience that occurs there where it's like, oh, there's not enough space.
So you mean physically you're trying, like in space, journey spaces, you try to expand, and you feel because of people or whatever, and you feel that there is no space?
Yeah, well, it's something that I've experienced in medicine ceremonies. However, I also can see where I experience that in physical in other parts of my life as well, where it's it's like I'm a very I'm a tall human being who's very
He is tall.
loud,
He's tall.
and I have this capacity to take up a lot of space when I'm in full expression. And there's this part of me that feels like I run up against the boundaries of how much space people have
Hmm.
for the level of expression that I'm capable of. Where it's almost like by being expressed, by being as honest and as authentic as I am, that triggers people. That there's this sense that, oh, who are you to be so bright? Who are you to shine so brightly? You're shining in my eyes. You know, you're shining.
I hear you. I hear you. I
It's
see it all over.
uncomfortable.
I see it. I know what you mean. I see it in other people. I see it with me. I see that. So you find that you're being shunned down, like being asked or hinted towards or whatever. Hey, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, not so loud.
Yeah, but you see, this is not your story.
Mm-hmm.
See, unless you're hurting anybody, which hard for me to believe that you are. This is many times this is the inability of these individuals to contain your energy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is part of a part in a workshop that I do. Love him in 7 colors. Okay, I'll tell you why. Give an example. 1980s or 1990s. Go back to computers, right? At those times, the screen monitors were 256 colors. Even earlier than 90. So 256 colors. Today, we have 5K monitors, right? So this was the gamut at those times, and now the gamut is like this, right? So this can contain this, but this cannot contain this, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you ask a picture of 256 colors to be expanded to 4K, many parts will be blurry because
Mm-hmm.
it can't control. So the people who don't have this is good also for any kind of work relationship, personal relationships. If you are able to see that, that means that you can contain them, but they cannot contain you. So sometimes, and this is I find sometimes that I do to because people are people. You're with people. You're on people. Is to adjust from a choice. Is to adjust, and when somebody says something in a certain way or something, okay, fine, all right, yeah, because I'm here and they're here, like you're here and they are here. They're not able to contain. So it's not to say that hey, don't express yourself, but it's like maybe there is a different way to express yourself that can be considerate of the other person. And this is where I think started the whole politically correct crap.
Mm-hmm.
It's not crap. It's really politically correct. The politically correct is crap, but the being nice, I believe that the original idea, and I didn't check it. It's just is let's try and be considerate of the other person when we say something. We don't have to be so blunt. Yes, we can. Okay, great. You can. Yes, you can go and buy a gun. You can go and shoot, but doesn't mean that you're going to do that. You can go and get a license. It's an amendment. You can do that, but it doesn't mean that you need to go and do that because there is another person or there are other people. So maybe it is knowing your power and choosing where you can or how you can navigate. Maybe Like I can take a 4K image and tell it, make it 256K. So now it'll give me an image of 256K colors. It's an expression of the 4K as a 256 colors. It's not being coerced, it's not being forced, it's choosing. I can contain that. They cannot contain me. I mean, what can I do? Is the ox laughing at the bird that it cannot, that it can, or the bird laughing at the ox that it cannot fly? Right? So maybe I can choose to see, okay, and this way I can also navigate the lay of the land and move smoother. And I'm saying this to myself. I'm just, it's like we're talking, and it's we're projecting and reflecting. We're like this, because we're going through. We're all feeling the same feelings, just different stories. So it's like, we're feeling one another, So I feel that. So it's like maybe there's a different way to tell the story. Doesn't have to. You don't have to, but.
Well, speaking to and being another way to tell the story, something that I'm present to as we're sitting here is the name of this show is
Abracadabra.
Right?
Create what you speak.
Create what you speak. And so there's a part of me that's aware of how I've been speaking, what I'm speaking into existence, and wanting to be considerate of the impact of some of the things that I've said in this conversation, knowing that, well, on one hand, that it's the energy behind what I say that is what's actually creating the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, there's an awareness that, well, at least a sense that some of what I've been saying is not necessarily coming from a place of the energy that I'm trying to call in. It's not necessarily as loving as is possible, and I suppose that's the part of me that I question whether where my intention comes from. Right? It's this desire to be loving, this desire to be operating from a place of loving presence, and to experience that in turn.
And you don't feel that you're in that space?
Well,
who is to say that you're not in that space?
Well, I'm finding myself in a position at the moment in my life where I've been ongoingly operating with a very, very strong intention to be as generous as possible, to share what I have, to give what I have, to generously give wherever possible of my energy and of the resources that I have, whether that's, offering food to someone who's hungry around me, to, a gentle touch when someone is in pain. And there's this kind of this ongoing practice, which I feel is very important, of operating as generously as possible. And yet, and a big part of where, what the philosophy behind that, or I'm not sure, are you familiar with sacred economics as a paradigm at all, the work of Charles Eisenstein?
Why don't you go over that?
Well, there's a lot in it. For me, I read one of Charles Eisenstein's books about 4 years ago for the first time. And in it, he lays out a possible future for humanity when it comes to how we operate in terms of economics, away from a system that's about that focuses on kind of the glorification of money, the glorification of capital, and shifts towards an economic system designed around generosity, where the gift itself is what is prioritized, which felt so beautiful to read this book, which presents this as a possibility of as a species, as human beings, that we might actually be able to operate in a world where the reason that people are fed is because people are gifting food.
So, and what it is, it's sustainability.
Yes.
And this is how we're designed. When
Yes.
you give, how do you feel?
It's a beautiful
Exactly.
feeling.
Exactly. And so we're designed to do that. I mean, this is really the intention to be.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, and then we have all our foolish sticks that go around and all the fear and the ego and the da. And that's where I feel the path is: do we find the right path, or do we crash again and we have to hit the reset button?
Mm. And this
So,
is this is this is the I've been in this deep process moving through these themes as I've been very intentionally operating as generously as possible for at least 3 years.
mm,
And I find myself in this position at the moment where I feel very depleted energetically. Like I feel at an edge where I'm having to be incredibly intentional about where I'm putting my energy, who I'm sharing my energy with, because I'm feeling it. I'm feeling like I'm in this place of very high level of depletion, tiredness, this exhaustion that is it's it kind of feels like this it's this, in my personal hero's journey, this is the current obstacle that I'm facing, is
I
this
hear you.
this experience of it feels like there's it's like if I was experiencing the same generosity that I've been offering, I feel like what I'm dealing with would be resolved. And so there's this deep part of me that feels like life itself is reciprocal very deeply, and yet isn't seeing that. And yet, as we're speaking what we want into existence, that's not what I want to be speaking into existence, right? And yet, it's still coming out of my mouth. This part of me that is frustrated, like that.
Well, you give it space.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I know it sounds easier than said, but it is. We're giving it space.
yeah.
I feel this. I feel this. I feel this. We're giving it space so it come into fruition, right? So, and let's look at the practical level. Maybe this is happening again, so you can see, and you can see where to put your energy at.
Mm,
Maybe this was part of your, the in Kabbalah it says that the most difficult things that we deal with in life are part of our tikkun,
mm,
are part of our purification process.
mm.
Purification, not in like, oh, Santa Maria, not all that stuff. Like purification, like cleaning the diamond from the mud around it, that kind of.
Yes.
So maybe this is a process of purification. So you're coming into your own power, and it's okay to say no.
Mm.
Mm.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes, but no. But to say yes, to say
Well,
no.
well,
You
what
know
you're
what I mean?
what you're speaking to is perfect. It feels exactly like what I'm doing is kind of this rewriting the patterns that I've been operating from, where I have been giving energy to things that don't feel aligned, that don't feel true, and that's what I can be responsible for. Where when I'm putting my energy into things that I don't trust, that don't feel true, that don't make me feel freedom that
Anymore. But they used
anymore.
to. But you used to be there and to swim through it. Maybe you felt sense something is not sitting, but you were still complete with that. But they were here and there,
Hmm.
and slowly these things are coming up enough times and heavy enough to realize that, wait, now you know. It's like when an addict, the first step is to say I'm an addict.
Hmm.
So it's like the first step to say, oh wait, I'm realizing that I'm doing things and putting things in a pattern that are not good for me, meaning not everything that I want is good for me.
Hmm.
And let me share you, my friend, we're in a similar boat, just in different directions.
Hmm.
So I know what you mean. I know what you mean when we're realizing, hey, so what is the brave thing to do? right? Hey, this is a great point, just came to me, so it's good. These are intention cards,
Okay.
okay? And I want to pull an intention card,
Okay.
and we'll see. We'll see. I mean, you can answer it, you don't have to answer it, whatever. And I'm shuffling like my grandmother used to shuffle. Yeah, this is like kind of like this is not really shuffling, but I won't go to Vegas. Okay, here's one came out. Or you know what? You pick one. I'm just
All right.
I'm just
This one right
this one.
here.
All right. So what does it say?
What delights me?
All right. So these are intention cards. Some of you know it if you've come to my talks. You know I've done those here and there, especially there. What delights me? So these are questions that are designed to poke you, either to answer the question's face value, or to ask, okay, what delights me? What place do I inhabit within myself that thing delights me? Is what delights me coming from a place of a need, coming from a place of, oh, this is what I really want, what I'm lacking now? I mean, or is it something temporary? Or is it something, maybe it could be anything. It could be a physical, it could be a spiritual, it could be anything. It doesn't mean that you have to answer it. I just don't put you on the spot.
No, of course. Well,
But
this is what we're doing here.
We're here on the spot.
So what delights me is something that delights me is having conversations in which it's clear that something that I have said has created a remembering within the person that I'm speaking to of something true, something deep within them that is true, that is resonant. Not just, I think that sounds good, but the deep feeling of remembering. Oh, yes, that feels good. There's a particular quality, and this is. I've been working as a transformational coach for about 3 years now, and this has been one of the vehicles for that, where I have a wide array of very powerful tools for supporting people in essentially getting to know the deeper truth of who they actually are, which is the universe experiencing itself in form. And there's this delight, this beautiful glow of energy that seems to emerge in these conversations where someone recognizes, oh, wow.
Yeah, right.
I am more magnificent than I realized. I am more skilled than I had been giving myself credit for. That, to me, that is delightful. That creates so much, because I know that having seen that having experienced that they're going to go out into their life and be more of that. Be not just that they're going to be that way, which they already have been, but they're going to do it from a place of self-awareness, having been seen in that way, seen for their kindness, seen for their compassion, seen for their generosity. And that having been seen for that and remembering that that's true, that resonates for them, that gets to ripple. They get to go out into the world and be even kinder, even more compassionate, even more generous than they knew they were capable of the day before.
That's beautiful. Nice.
So that's what delights me.
All right.
How about you? Would you
How
like
about
to answer
me?
the same question, or would you like to pick a different card?
I'll pick a different card.
Okay.
Yeah. Pick a different card. I'll tell you why also. Because I thought about the question, you know? And when I start thinking about it, it's like, oh man. I guess there are a bunch of them fell off, but I guess I'll take just this one.
You know, when they jump out of the deck.
Oh, I know, but these were 4 or 5. I was like, oh, dude, I got too many. What would be perfect? What would be perfect?
What would be perfect?
It's so fitting, man. Like thinking of myself, it's so fitting because it's such a mind question.
Hmm.
I feel
Hmm.
such a mind question. I feel such a mind. Okay. Mind. I think. Such a mind question, but I can tie it back to it ties to delights because maybe I was thinking about I should go with a question. Huh? It ties in with the delight. I see that because if it's perfect, then it delights me, right? If now the question is, what is my definition of perfect? I can go through down the rabbit hole of what's my definition of perfect. Do I need to be perfect? What do I find imperfect? But it ties back to that freedom thing,
Hmm.
to that freedom word that I was sharing with you. Is the freedom of to express without feeling judged. Is this sweet
Hmm.
spot? And when you were talking about delight, I know what you mean. It's that sweet spot of harmony. You feel like everything is harmonious.
Hmm. Hmm.
Everything is harmonious. There is no one thing that is like, but I got this thing. You know,
Hmm.
everything is harmonious. No, it's perfect. That is perfect. That is perfect. Harmony is
Hmm.
perfect. And sometimes it could be like this. Sometimes it could be like this. Sometimes I can sit on a boat, and sometimes I can sit in a shack. It doesn't matter. Sometimes I can sit in a condo that is looking to the beach, and sometimes I can sit in a condo that looks to the backyard. So when I'm in harmony, whenever I am, that's perfect.
What you're saying is bringing to mind this turn of phrase when something rings true,
Uh huh.
right? And as someone who does sound healing, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm speaking about. But when you hit a tuning fork or a sound bowl and the tone that comes through has that harmonious quality that just rings out into the
That's
space,
right.
that ring of truth. To
That's
bring us
right.
back to this word that we've
That's
been
right.
experimenting with or exploring, it is one of these experiences that I have where truth as a quality in a conversation, there's a feeling. It feels true.
It resonates truthful to you. It
Yes.
resonates your home. Everybody has a home tone, home note. It
Yes.
resonates. It's like a certain feeling that resonates with that frequency.
It's not just that what you're saying makes sense. It's I can feel that as you say that, you feel the
Yeah.
truth of what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
That to me, that is something that I find to be so powerful. That's it's that harmonious
Harmonious.
quality. It's
Yes.
what
Yes.
is inside of you is coming out, and there's this congruence. that
Yeah.
that to me,
Exactly.
that is one of the ultimate values of truth, is when you're congruent in your internal state and your external state, where you speak how you feel honestly. There's this congruity where I can actually experience how you're experiencing
Yeah.
because I can hear it, and I can hear that as you say it, it resonates. I can feel you.
Well, thank God and thank you. That's great. That is why this is great, guys. This is we need to make it more of this. But this is really this is yeah. Thank you. Yeah, this is great, and thank you for bringing you here because we wouldn't experience this. I wouldn't experience it with anybody else except for with you.
So
Right?
what you're saying is
That's
this
it.
is perfect, just as it
For
is.
yeah, for now, this is what is perfect because we are here. We are harmonizing. Harmonizing is not necessarily balance. Harmonizing and we have great. I was thinking about how it's going to be the light, the camera, everything worked perfect. If you guys were able to see that, it was really nice. And you bring the energies and look, we're wearing similar color tones, very grounding color tones,
We
right?
are,
you
yes.
know as it is above, so it is below, and sideways too.
Mhm.
you know
Yes. Yes.
so we are. I feel you. Look, red pants, red shirt, brown pants, brown shirt. See?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Clearly on a similar wavelength.
Nice. It's funny. It's
And
funny.
that's it. And that's what actually allows harmony,
Yeah.
is when the
Yeah.
wavelengths are similar. And the similarity between the wavelengths is what allows them to oscillate. It's the oscillation is similar, right?
Well, yeah, and it is like keeping something, sometimes it's 70-30, sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes it's 50-50. It's keeping the ball rolling. Yeah, and then the spaces between the waves, that is allowing things to happen the way that they happen and vibrate the way that they happen. Absolutely.
Mm.
This is great. This is great, man.
Mm.
So we can talk here until tomorrow. Uh, or maybe we should do it again. And please send us suggestion, ideas. You have a question about anything, about what Elijah Love does, about sound therapy, sound healing. And I want to please send any questions. Website,
Don't currently have a website.
Facebook.
I am on Facebook.
If
Elijah
how do
Love.
people love you? How do people love you? How do people find you? Why and how people love you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Elijah eli.ja.love. You can find me on Facebook at Elijah Love. Those are the two best ways to find me at the moment.
It'll be written down. It's true. So as we speak now, when it's broadcasted, it's all written down, so you can follow that.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's great. And I want to leave us with a frequency, with a little sound ball, and yeah, let's do that. So I have this ball has been calling me here. Let me have your hand here. Let me have your hand. Don't hug it, just straight hand. Yeah, yeah. So just close your eyes. In through your nose, out through your nose. So this frequency is the throat chakra frequency. And throat chakra, while it's a chakra on its own, it's the bridge for all the other chakras to go through. And so when we have blockages in the way of not speaking our truth, or speaking what we don't want to speak, or not saying no or yes, or to ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, it gets blocked here. And then we have all these congestions and things that are happening, and migraines. So thank you very much, Elijah. Thank you very much for blessing the space here with your energy. And yeah, it's been great. Thank you guys, everybody, for being here. It's Purim. It's Purim. So I'm going to put this heavy thing on me here. Whoa! You got to have muscles to hold that weight, right?
Touch your chest.
Oh my God! Yeah, Purim. All right. So this is, by the way, the original crown from the movie King Arthur. King. What was that name? King Ralph. Sorry, King Ralph. King Arthur. With anyway. So, thank you guys for being here. This is Abracadabra, create what you speak. Elijah, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
It's been really a blessing. Yeah,
it's a pleasure to be here with you, iLan. Thank you for having me on.
absolutely.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to
Sure.
have a rich conversation about truth and freedom
Yeah.
and all the resonance in between. For everyone who was tuning in, I hope there was a seed in that conversation that
Amen.
might offer a new perspective, something new that you hadn't considered that might create some lightness
Amen.
in your day.
Amen. Amen. So thank you very much. I'm iLan Azoulai, and my information is here. If you'd like to ask any questions or have anything for Elijah, for me. And until the next time, I'll see you around. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. All right, my friend.
Quite a conversation.
That's great, man.
It's interesting that you said migraines. Halfway through that conversation, I felt like I was maybe going to.
Oh, I didn't hit record on this thing. Oh, shit.
Oh, guess we'll have to do the whole thing again.
No. I have it here. Well, we'll do another one, but.
Hey there, I'm DC. I host the rock podcast, Back to the Arena, The Interviews. It's about a 30-minute podcast where I talk one-on-one with a band who has released new music. You can find us on all the best podcast sites like Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, and more. If you're a rock fan like me, subscribe today to Back to the Arena, The Interviews.
Electricast. Miles, are you ready to record our promo for Season 2 of the Wanna Bet podcast?
David, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Miles, we're not here to quote lines from Airplane. We're here to tell people that Season 2 starts August 18th.
But I like Airplane.
I know you do, but Wanna Bet is a sports betting podcast. Each week we bet $1,000 on the NFL teams and games that we love.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It is fun. And last year you picked over 60% of your games correctly.
How'd you do?
We're not talking about that. We are telling people that they can find us every Friday. So no more movie quotes.
Roger.
Electricast. Electricast.